Well, Tory Lanez, he's up on appeal right now, but it seems like certain things that he tried to appeal have been thrown out.
Right.
So that part is not working. Is he still have parts of his appeal that might go through, or is it pretty much done in terms of appeals?
I think it got clapped, and I don't think he's gonna get out on appeal.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I actually ran into his dad recently.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Um, it went decent. It went decent because well, we were like in I'm not gonna say where, but it was like a kids kind of place,
Okay.
right? So there's like children and families around. So it's not like we were gonna sit there and argue with each other in an environment like that. But it was like basically one of his. He was there with like another guy and I think some kids, and the guy approached me to talk to me about doing some other stuff. He goes, "Oh, Tory Lane's dad is here. You want to meet him?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not? Why not?" So we were introduced, and I kept it 100 with him. I said, "Listen, he goes, oh, I said, listen, I've said some things about Tory, publicly. Ultimately, I'm not happy where he is right now. I hope he does get out. But my point was that if he really didn't do it, that he should have cooperated. He should have taken the stand. Me personally, I'm not going to go to prison over some girl that I just met doing a shooting, right? Because, well, he couldn't really do that. I said, I understand, but I kept it honest with him. Like, I was going to be like, oh yeah, free Tory, I'm his number one fan. You got a great, like, no, I'm not going to do that. So it was respectful. We exchanged numbers. We haven't talked or anything since then, because I think he was talking about possibly doing an interview. And I'm like, listen, if you're, I will give you a platform. If you want to come to Vlad TV to talk about your son, I will give you that platform. In fact, if your son wants to come on Vlad TV, people think I have some sort of weird grudge against Tory. I don't. The only thing with me is what I've always said was based on what I'm seeing with the evidence, with the victim taking the stand, with the overall situation, he's going to go to prison. And I was right. And people are like, oh, you hate Tory, like, I don't hate Tory. Like, I called what was going to happen.
I mean, that's just how the internet is, bro. Because it's like with this Young Thug situation. When I make a video, if I say he's a rat, they're gonna say I hate all fucking rappers. If I say I don't think he's a rat, they're gonna say I got paid off. So it's like, it just is what it is. I mean, you stuck to your beliefs and what you thought about the situation, and it's dope that y'all were able to have a cordial conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my whole thing was I wasn't going to sit there and be a different person around his father.
No, I respect that.
I was respectful,
Right,
but I stated my position,
right.
and I think he ultimately respected that as
He
well.
should.
And ultimately, like, he has my number. Once he sees this, he can call me if he wants and so forth. And look, at the end of the day, what happened to him in prison with the stabbing, I thought was heinous.
That shit was crazy.
It was heinous. That guy tried to kill him,
Yeah.
for real. And, look, what's interesting is I had Freeway Ricky on my show recently, and he's tied into the prisons, right, because of who he is. And Wack told me one version of the story, but what Freeway told me was that, in fact, from everything that he heard from people on the inside at that prison, that it really came from, Tory was flirting with the girlfriend of one of the other inmates.
Mm.
And the actual black gangs in that prison gave that Mexican dude a green light to go stab up Tory.
Damn.
Because they felt that, yes, okay, yeah, he's one of us, he's black, but more so than that, there are certain rules that we function here, and if he violated the rules, then you can go ahead and handle your business.
That's wild.
Yeah, man. I mean, it seems like all of Tory's problems are all centered on women.
Yeah. And he hasn't learned that yet. But I don't know, maybe all that knife play taught him a lesson.
Yeah. But what you're saying is that his appeal is done. He's not getting out.
I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna. As far as can he keep trying, I don't know. I don't know how it is in California. I know in Florida, there's a certain point where you run out of appeals, and then you're pretty much just barred from the courts. So
Yeah. Well, and I remember hearing his lawyers speak about the situation. They're like, yeah, so what happened was Kelsey was shooting the gun, and Tory hit her elbow, and the gun fell and fired off 2 more times. I'm like, a gun falls and fires off 2 times? I have never heard of this in
yeah,
life.
unless it was a SIG, like the ones that go off in people's holsters and shit, and cops shoot themselves by accident. Unless it was one of
2
those.
times? 2
Two
times,
times
though?
is crazy. 2 times
2
is
times.
crazy. I ain't gonna lie.
So what? It hit something on the ground that pulled the trigger twice? Like what?
Yeah.
Like come on now.
Unless it had a switch and there was only 2 shots left and it just.
Okay, yeah, if it was a switch, but it wasn't a switch from what.
And see, that's the thing is just the appeals just come up with more and more shit that just doesn't make sense, and that's why they keep getting dubbed. It's like, homie, you just got to do that bid. That's it.
Yeah. Or you should have taken the stand if you really didn't do it. And look, I've interviewed people like Hurricane Chris who had murder charges who took the stand.
Right.
And me and him had a serious talk about this on camera. I said, what did your lawyer tell you about taking the stand? Because a lot of times in murder cases, your lawyer tells you not to take the stand. And his answer was, I didn't care what my lawyer was saying. I did not kill this person on purpose. This was self-defense, and I was not going to leave the rest of my life into someone else's hands.
Oh no, I knew I was gonna talk from day one. It was never a thought in my mind of silencing me. This is my life. I know exactly what happened. I mean, my lawyer is a terrific lawyer, and he did an amazing job, Alex Washington, but at the end of the day, I had to get up there and say my part, bro. I couldn't just put everything in their hands like that. I gotta look these people in their eyes because my life is in their hands. I want to talk directly to these people and see if they could see I'm not no lying ass nigga right now. You understand what I'm saying?
But I think the difference was he didn't have someone else that could be blamed, and Tory didn't want to be portrayed as a snitch. Tory got exactly what he wanted. He has the image now of a gangster. You're in California State Prison. You got the shit stabbed out of you and you survived. You know, that's essentially what you wanted. I don't know if it has to do with the height complex or whatever it is, but if you want to go that route, live that route. But the thing is, he's on SNY yards, so he's not in GP. And I don't know, that's the route you chose, bro.
Yeah, look, I hope at some point he does get out. I feel that whatever lesson Tory needed to learn, I feel like he's learned it.
I would hope so, after getting stabbed that many times.
After this stabbing and after doing this prison time, I feel like he's learned the lesson that he's learned. And, but I guess you can't really be considered a gangster because you're being charged with shooting a girl. That's not no gangster shit.
I mean, none of it's gangster shit. The fact that you got the shit stabbed out of you and nobody did anything about it shows that they don't really fuck with you. And then unless you're going to go do something about it, it's just, it's the whole thing about trying to be gangster is like, why the fuck are you that age still trying to be gangster?
Yep.
You had all the money, all the women. Like, you could have just left it at that, bro. That's what everybody in that prison wants. The money and the women. The freedom. You traded all that to be in there with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I think the thing with Tory, because my man Carl Kanai came over yesterday. We were chopping it up, and his name came up. And it's just like, I think what had happened was Tory felt because the internet and social media was behind him, that would translate into the courtroom and the jury. He's looking online and everyone's like, free Tory, Megan's a liar, free Tory, Tory's about to come home. And he was like feeling all that energy and all that love. And it's still there. Like, people still are like, free Tory, Drake says it. You know what I mean? Like, big people, Aiden Ross says it. And you're feeling like, yeah. Everyone knows I'm going to win. Everyone knows I'm going to win. And I remember the day before, I think the verdict, he's like, yeah, I'm going to show y'all how powerful my God is. And when I show you, all of you will bow to me or something like that. It was like one of these, like, I'm definitely winning and watch what happens. And he lost. Guilty. Unanimous decision. All 12 jurors.
Well, maybe that's his God humbling him, sitting him down to learn. So I'm being serious. Like, sometimes that's how things happen, bro. Sometimes you have to sit down and go through some traumatic shit to learn what you need to learn, you know? I went to prison when I was 18. I learned a lot of shit that I should have learned from a father that wasn't there, you know? So when my face got cut and I had blood all over me, yeah, it was an eye-opening experience. Just hopefully he comes out better than how he went in.
What happened to your dad?
Just wasn't there. You know what I mean? I got sent down to Florida. That was the end of that.
Have you been in contact with him since then?
A couple of times, but, you know, he fell into drugs and alcohol and just everything kind of fucked off, you know what I mean? So I think now he's disabled. Not that long ago, he was in a shelter, you know? So it's just, when you go years without contact, it kind of kills the relationship. So it's, you know, I needed to learn a lot of things that I didn't know, and I had to learn a lot of those things in prison. And then even when I came home, I was still on dumb shit. Caught another case after that. So hopefully, especially if he does have a belief in God, hopefully he can see the cockiness and all of that is what needs to get humbled. And he just takes the time to recreate himself and his way of thinking.